Tell me, do you really think I have to drag people into destruction? Absolutely not. That's far too much effort. I don't chase. I wait. I whisper. I nudge. And then, you do the rest. I hand you a thought, a fear, a temptation, and you build the cage for yourself. One choice at a time. One excuse at a time. You call it life. I call it a masterpiece of manipulation. Want to know how I trap you? Without touching you? How do I make you love the chains that you forged yourself? Lean closer, and I'll show you the blueprint. It always starts small. The first compromise. How I get them to trade their conviction for comfort. Not with a deal, but with a delay. No soul falls in one leap. They drift, inch by inch, choice by choice. You think souls are lost in a single dramatic fall? That I arrive with flames, horns, and a contract? No. That's the myth you tell yourself to feel safe. The truth? I don't take souls. I earned them. One small compromise at a time. It always starts the same way. A small decision. So small you don't even notice. Skip one workout. Delay one project. Lie once, just this time. And you say, "It's fine. I'll fix it tomorrow." But you never do. Because now I'm there. In the silence. Whispering. See? You broke your word. You always do. That first compromise? It's not about the task. It's about your identity. You said you were disciplined, focused, driven. But now, you're not so sure. And that doubt, that sliver of weakness, that's my opening. You didn't fall, you leaned. Just a little. And I smiled. You think you're still in control. Tomorrow, I'll be better. Next week, I'll be consistent. But each time you delay, you get more comfortable with being out of alignment. And every time you tell yourself it's no big deal, I tighten the leash. Just a little. You don't see the trap because it looks like comfort. Like taking a break. Like being kind to yourself. But that's the trick. You're not resting. You're retreating. You're negotiating with your potential. And once you do that once, you'll do it again. And again. Until one day, you wake up a stranger to the person you swore you'd become. So no, I don't need to tempt you with sin. I just need you to keep putting things off. Keep calling little compromises self-care. Keep betraying yourself gently. Because the soul doesn't break in half. It erodes. One small decision at a time. And I'll be here, watching, waiting, smiling. Because you already started. The hook is always something they want. Do you know how I disguise the trap as a dream, desire, or need? And how people walk right into it willingly. I never force them. I just offer what they already crave. Let me tell you a secret. I never chase. I never drag. I never scream. I offer. That's all. I don't need chains or cages. I simply hold out my hand, and they come running. Why? Because the hook is always something they already want. You think people fall because of weakness? No, they fall because of hunger, for success, for love, for validation, for escape, for attention, for control. Whatever they crave, I dress it up and serve it warm. Not poison, not pain, not fear. Hope, desire, need. And they swallow it with a smile. She wanted to be adored, so I gave her followers. He wanted respect, so I gave him power. They wanted peace, so I gave them a distraction. No one ever stops to ask what's inside the gift. They just want it so badly. They reach. They grab. They grip tight. And by the time they realize it's a leash, it's too late. The hook's already in, barbed with everything they thought they needed. That's why I don't waste time with fear. Fear pushes people away. But desire makes them volunteer for the fall. They build the trap with their own hands. I just supply the blueprint. And when they lose themselves in the fantasy of who they'll become, of what they'll achieve, of how good it will feel, that's when I tighten the line. Gently, lovingly. I never force them. I just give them what they already want. The dream, the relief, the answer. But what they don't see is this. The hook was never in the bait. It was in their hunger. So, the next time you chase something with wide eyes and open hands, ask yourself, did I want this? Or did something want me? Because when the hook fits perfectly, you don't feel it going in. You only feel the pull. When it's far too late to let go. After that, guilt is the glue that keeps them mine. How I use guilt not to punish, but to paralyze. They feel bad about falling, so they fall again to forget. You think guilt makes people change? No. Guilt makes them freeze. I don't use it to punish. That's too obvious, too crude. I use guilt like glue. Sticky, invisible, and strong enough to keep them mine. They mess up once, then they feel awful about it. Not because they want to do better, but because they think they should have already been better. And that shame? That crushing weight on their chest? That's me, whispering, "See, I told you, you're not who you thought you were." You see, people fall. That's normal. Even the strong trip. But the trick, the trap, is convincing them the fall defines them. One bad decision becomes their identity. And then, they don't try to rise. They try to forget. So they numb the guilt with the same vice that caused it. They drink to forget they drank yesterday. They scroll to avoid the silence they promised to sit with. They sin again, just to silence the shame from the last one. Over and over. Do you see the brilliance? I don't even need to tempt them anymore. I just let their own guilt corrode them. They punish themselves more brutally than I ever could. They look in the mirror and say, I already failed. What's the point? Exactly. What is the point? Keep falling. Keep hiding. Keep feeding the guilt. Because if they ever stopped long enough, if they ever faced it with honesty, they might fight back. But most won't. They don't want healing. They want relief. And the quickest relief is another hit. Another escape. Another fall. They think guilt is their conscience. But when I shape it, it's a collar. And I own the leash. So go ahead. Regret it. Hate yourself. Just don't change. Because the longer you sit in shame, the deeper you sink into my hands. My fourth secret weapon is the evening guilt, regret, my favorite dessert. The day is done, and so are you. Evening arrives, the noise dies down, and you're finally alone, just you, and that silence pressing on your chest. But that weight, that discomfort, that's not tiredness. That's me. All day I waited, while you chased distractions. But now that everything's quiet, I get to serve you what I've been preparing since morning. Regret. Remember those plans you had? The promises you made to yourself this morning? Today will be different, you said. But now here you are, scrolling through nothing, eating without presence, filling time with noise, and that voice whispering, you wasted it again? That's me, too. You think you're exhausted, but you're not. You're haunted not by ghosts, but by the version of you that could have shown up, the one who stayed disciplined, the one who made progress. But instead, you chose comfort. You chose later. And now, later is gone. That ache in your chest as the lights dim and the world settles? That's not depression. That's unlived potential screaming from inside your ribcage. And I press harder every night. This is my throne room where you come to me. You lie down, your mind racing with the things you didn't do, the calls you didn't make, the dreams you didn't touch. You try to drown me out music, television, distractions, but silence always wins. And in that silence, I feed. You could have ended the day with pride, even a small win, but instead, you scroll until your soul feels empty. Not because of what you did, but because of what you didn't. That hollowness you feel, that's your purpose. While I smile. And every night you go to sleep in regret, I grow stronger. You say, tomorrow I'll fix it. But that's the lie I fed you yesterday. You're not out of energy. You're out of self-respect. This rough patch, it's becoming your pattern. And that pattern is how I build cages one quiet compromise at a time. So tonight as you lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, drowning in guilt, I'll whisper, sleep tight. We'll waste tomorrow too. And I'll be waiting. At sunset, with your favorite dish, unfinished dreams, served cold. The moment they stop seeing their fall as a choice and start seeing it as who they are, I own them. They stop trying to change because they think they can't. That's when I feast. You think failure is what traps people? No. Shame is what seals the cage. Falling isn't fatal. I let them fall all the time. Trip up, miss a goal, break a promise. That's just the appetizer. But the real feast is when they stop saying, "I failed," and start saying, "I'm a failure." That's when I lean in. That's when I own them. Because once they tie their identity to the fall, I don't have to push anymore. They stay down on their own. They stop dreaming. Stop fighting. Stop believing they can change. And all I have to do is whisper little confirmations. You always mess it up. This is just who you are. No one ever really changes. And they eat it up like the truth. Oh, sure, they'll talk about self-awareness. They'll wear their shame like a badge. Say things like, "I'm just lazy. I can't commit. I've always been this way." And every time they say it out loud, every time they post it, joke about it, make it part of their personality, they tighten the chains. Because now, it's not just what they did, it's who they are. They think they're being honest, but what they're doing is surrendering. They're handing me the keys and saying, "Here, this is who I've become. I guess I'll live here now." And once they believe that, I don't need to keep attacking. They'll do it for me. The human spirit can survive failure, but it can't survive a false identity. Once they wear the fall-like skin, once they stop seeing a way out, I don't just win the day. I win life. Because they no longer seek change. They seek comfort in the cage. And while they rock themselves to sleep, in the lie they now call truth, I feast.